Hey guys, welcome back to another Total Drama video. I've not done one of these in a hot minute, so let's get into it. So, total drama relationships. You either love them, you hate them, or you fall into neutral territory. To me, they're basically sometimes the root of all drama. Sometimes, sometimes they can be wholesome, sometimes they can be toxic. But either way, if it breaks chaos, then I'm here for it. So, today, we are talking about love triangles, specifically the most well known love triangle in the show and the most hated. We're talking about Duncan, Courtney, and Gwen's love triangle in Total Drama World Tour. So, I love Total Drama World Tour. It's my favorite season of the show. The songs are bops. They should be on Apple Music where I can put them on my playlist, but they're not. Alejandro is the best villain by far, and Heather deserved to win her million, and then it got taken away from her because Heather is the punching bag for the writers. So today, though, this is probably the one thing that most people hate about this season. The love triangle. I have actually written a fan fiction, multiple fan fictions, in fact, of what if the Equestria girls were in Total Drama World Tour and what kind of drama would they bring? I have not published this on the fanfic website. I don't plan to, but I will actually read these fan fictions on the channel, so watch out for that. I'm currently on an Equestria Girls rewrite where it's just by itself because I actually have done one with Wings Club in it, one with Lolly Rock. You have heard of that show. I stopped writing one about Mysticons if you heard of that show, because that show was done dirty by Nickelodeon. It was done dirty for real. And then there's actually one that I scrapped, which is 16. I'm gonna get back to that one when I'm done with the rewrite of this Equestria Girls one. Because I wrote the Equestria Girls one when I was deep in my mental trauma, my mental health low. So I stopped writing that because I'm starting to get really badly. My mind was just going everywhere because it was crazy. But I'm currently on the last chapter I ever wrote for that one, which is 15. Every single time when my mom read these chapters, she has been gagged every single time. And one of the changes I made, because I make loads of changes that make the story better, is I removed the love triangle completely. That doesn't exist in this one. So let's get into this. Before we get into it, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And actually, comment down below on, on your thoughts on this love triangle. With, with that out of the way, let's get started. So a bit of background on this love triangle is the kind of characters that are in this are Duncan, the bad boy, Courtney, the good girl, and Gwen, the goth. These are basically all stereotypes, and they were introduced in the first episode of Total Drama Island, Not So Happy Campers Part 1, along with the other first generation characters besides Blanley, Sierra, and Alejandro. Duncan and Courtney were paired together as kind of like the enemies to lovers, opposites attract me, and Gwen had a fig with another character, Trent. I will do videos on all these characters in the future. Just wait and see. But Duncan and Courtney specifically, they kind of had a will they, won't they, enemies to lovers, obstacles, tracks thing, and this started in episode 4, which is Dodgeball. Is that what the episode's called? I don't remember. Oops. Oop, oopsie. This is coming from a certified total drama fan, and I don't remember what the episodes are called. But in episode 4, this starts where Courtney kind of threatens Duncan saying, "Oh, if you don't help us win this dodgeball challenge, I will make sure that you get voted off." And Duncan helps the team win. Well, Harold technically helped the team win, but Duncan kind of helped leading into Harold helping them win. Harold was clutch in that first season. He was clutch, and so was actually he was also clutch in action. But I would argue that he was more clutch in Island. But that situation that goes on until episode 12, basic straining, where they kiss and they kind of get together, but this is where Harold rooked the boats and Courtney is eliminated. Duncan gives Courtney the skull thing, this carved skull out of wood thing, and then he gives it to her right before she leaves, and she says that she'll never forget him. So this is people's favorite ship. I get where you guys are coming from, because I know you basically disregard the later seasons, but I'm not the hugest fan of Duncan, and I really do not like Courtney. I don't like either parties involved in this ship.
Wait a damn minute. Wait a damn.
If this was when I started watching full drama, then I would say that I would have full heartedly agree with you in what. But as the show goes on and as I get older, this ship was just messed up. It was messed up from the start. It was basically filled with threats from the very beginning, which kind of coupled with their attraction towards each other. It's just a whole hot mess. And then in season two, when Courtney returns, they kind of fall back into their old rhythm, which is also kind of a red flag. But this kind of culminates into episode 24 of season 2, Top Dog, where Duncan and Courtney officially get back together. Beth, however, she overhears them having a conversation throughout the night, even though she falls asleep a couple of times, on how Courtney wrote a 32-page letter on Duncan's flaws and how he needs to correct them in order for them to have a serious relationship. That is a red flag. I actually watched a Wicked Binge video. I'll link their channel down below. They actually have some good stuff. But they actually have a lot of total drama videos. They actually did 2 videos on ranking the couples from healthiest to toxic, from healthy to toxic, the most healthiest to the most toxic relationship. And on that first video, Duncan and Courtney were considered the most toxic. I actually saw a comment on that thing that, oh, Courtney and Duncan aren't the most toxic couple, and that Courtney wrote Duncan a whole letter so they could be together. That's not a good thing. I'm sorry. That's just not a good thing. You should embrace your partner for who they are and support them for that rather than telling them how to correct it. Now, if they have some bad qualities that need correcting, correct them. But if they just do something that you don't like, that doesn't mean you have to write a full page letter on how to fix it. That's just ridiculous. But because Duncan did not get any sleep that night because he was up all night hearing Courtney's letter, he accidentally votes her out, which leads to Duncan and Beth getting into the finale and Courtney getting eliminated while Owen gets fired from his rat job and he's also kicked off. After this, though, Courtney screams from the limo, "We are so done," breaking up with Duncan. And then, depending on what ending you watch, Duncan and Courtney, they get back together. And then this segues into the time skip for War, where it's 1 year later for the Celebrity Manhunt special, where we learned that they broke up yet again, and now they're fighting over now they're doing custody arrangements for their pet raccoon named Brittany. And then they get back together at the end of the special. That's basically where Duncan and Courtney are before he quit in season 3, right at the beginning of season 3, but we don't know about the other part of the Gwen. Gwen was in a relationship with this competitor named Trent. They kiss in episode 16, Search and Do Not Destroy, and then in the same episode, Heather, the main antagonist for season 1, she kisses Trent in front of Gwen while basically she made an alliance with Lindsay and Beth, but Beth was eliminated in episode 10. And so this happened off screen. And Izzy, the crazy girl, is now a part of this alliance, and they have a plan to break up Trent and Gwen, even though they weren't really together, and they kissed just once before this all happened. So the plan was Lindsay would write a note to Gwen pretending to be Trent. Gwen would read the note and go to the dock of losers, where basically where Trent's surprise was, and she would go to that. Lindsay was hiding in the tree the whole time. She would send a signal to Heather on when to kiss Trent so that Gwen would see at just the right moment, and that will basically wreck their whole relationship. So that Heather's alliance can be the only alliance on the island. This is successful though. However, Gwen tells Lashana, my personal favorite character, about this, and she gets everyone on the whole island except Lindsay and Izzy that we need to vote off that they need to vote off Heather or Trent. However, though, Heather ends up getting invincibility that challenge, and so Trent is kicked off. But he and Gwen have a sweet goodbye moment, but this kind of settles in. And then we realize, and then this was before, there was also an incident with Gwen and Trent before this happened, where in episode 7, Phobia Factor, where Gwen has to be buried alive underneath some sand for 5 minutes, and Trent promises to stay with her. However, though, he ends up having to leave because he had to face his fear of mimes. And he accidentally leaves Gwen under there for like an hour, I think. I really don't remember. And I just watched this because I'm on a binge watch of Total Drama right now. And this is where I got the idea from because I'm currently on world tour right now. I'm having a time. I'm on episode 16 right now. So, yeah. But he ends up leaving Gwen under there, and after he faces his fear, after he and Chris watch Jeff, another competitor, getting pelted with hail, because hail's his biggest fear, he ends up remembering that Gwen is underneath the sand, and he actually runs back to go get her, which is also kind of from Trent, but this was before he went all OCD, so I guess that's fine. But during the finale of season 1, during the finale of season 1, whichever ending you watch, Gwen and Trent officially become boyfriend and girlfriend. And they also have some cute moments throughout the island special, which is also really cute. But like Action, similarly to Duncan and Courtney, things kind of get rocky for Gwen and Trent as they are separated onto different teams. Specifically, they won a challenge in episode 2, Alien Resurrection. I think that's what it's called. I really don't remember. And I just watched this. Oh my god. But they end up winning the challenge where they have to get alien eggs, and Duncan was actually also there with them, but he did not win. They get separated onto different teams. When founds the screaming founds founds this the screaming gaffers, where she chooses DJ, Lashana, Heather, and Duncan, which really surprises Trent. However, though, this causes Trent to found this killer Grips, and he chooses Lindsay, calling her beautiful. He chooses Bev, Justin, Owen, and Izzy, but her right now her name's Kaleidoscope. So, and then they kind of have a bit of back and forth in that episode. And then at the end of the day, Izzy is kicked out while Duncan wins for the Screaming Gaffers, and Gwen and Trent make up. However, the next episode, though, this is when we get the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 thing, the number 9 thing, which kind of causes this whole situation. This is when Gwen and Duncan start to bond. Well, technically they start to bond in episode 19 of season 1, and then we also see them bond again in episode 2 of season 2, and then again in episode 3, and then again in episode 4. This causes Duncan, which makes me so mad, and how people either blame Gwen or Courtney for this love triangle, which I'm going to make a point later on. Duncan actually theorizes that the number 9 thing was due to combining Gwen and Trent's names together.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Gwen has 4 letters in her name, and Trent has 5 letters in his name. Put them, if you know basic math, put them together and they make 9. And this freaks Gwen out because she thinks that Trent's doing everything 9 times just because of her, when however this turns out not to be the case. Then Trent starts to throw his challenges by throwing the dancing challenge where he and Lashana are against, and it's kind of running gag where Lashana is a bad dancer. She is not a bad dancer. You all don't have good taste. None of the competitors have good taste. Lashana's a good dancer. Let's be real.
Did I lie? Did I lie? Did I fucking lie?
But even though it seems like Trent will win, Gwen is feeling dejected by this. So Trent throws the challenges by pretending to fall and doing this thing on the floor. Chris notices this, and he gives the win to Lashana and the Gaffers. He and Gwen do make up though, but this is not the last of their problems. And then in the next episode, episode 5, Free Time to Crazy Town, this number 9 thing comes to a head where Trent actively throws the Gaffers challenges for Gwen. And this with the fact that the number 9 thing is still in Gwen's head, they end up breaking up in this episode. In this same episode, Trent is eliminated. Then we get the Aftermath episode, the first Aftermath episode of the show. I'm not the hugest fan of the Aftermath episodes, but the World Tour Aftermath episodes are freaking bangers, but these action ones, not so much. So in this episode, the eliminated guests are Trent and Izzy, and Trent learns from Jeff that Gwen told Justin and the rest of the Killer Grips to vote out Trent, which I forgot to mention on purpose. So he cries about this and he sings this song while the monitor is playing the feed from behind the scenes. He's crying about this and he's singing a song before he's brought out. Now the Aftermath hosts are Jeff and Bridget, who were eliminated in the second episode because they made out too much, but they are both on different sides. Jeff is on Team Gwen, while Bridget is on Team Trent. Now, I love Bridget so much. I also love Jeff though. I'm definitely on Jeff's side on this. I'm a Gwen defender till the day I die, okay? But I don't know if I fully agree with Gwen right here. But when Trent comes out, he kind of talks about how Gwen was the girl for him, and then when a fan asked him what his type was, he says it was a girl like Gwen, but now he's gonna have to find a new type, and then he sings this song again where everyone is crying because it's a sad song, and that causes Jeff and Bridget to make up. And then in the next Aftermath episode, when after Gwen's eliminated, a lot of people boo for her, including Courtney, and there's this specific scene where Jeff, who's kind of becoming like Chris now, he plays this clip on Duncan and Gwen skygazing, and Courtney thinks that Duncan was cheating on her with Gwen, which turns out to be true. Ugh. But he ends up she ends up like accusing her, and then during this clip, when Gwen's talking about the constellations and all, Duncan asks if Gwen thinks that Courtney is looking at the stars tonight. This kind of disproves Courtney's theory on Duncan cheating on her with Gwen for a minute until Jeff continues to play the clip, and one thing leads to another, and Gwen and Duncan are kind of on top of each other, and they look like they're about to kiss. And Courtney was so mad, in fact, that she wanted to call her lawyer. But after this, Trent forgives Gwen, and that's kind of where her story kind of ends, even though they get one moment in World Tour, which is kind of cute. But that's basically where the Gwen and Trent storyline ends. Now let's get to the main thing, the love triangle. This starts in episode 1 of World Tour, where Duncan, Courtney, and Gwen are on top of the pyramid. And when Chris asks for a reprise, Duncan refuses to do the reprise repeats because he does not like to sing, first of all. Second of all, they were on top of the pyramid for hours in the Egyptian heat, and he does not want to sing because they were on top of that pyramid for literal hours in Egypt, and it was hot. I'm gonna say about 100 degrees probably. So he ends up refusing this, and Chris reminds him that if he does not sing, he'll get eliminated. Duncan does not care. He ends up quitting because of the singing thing, and he leaves, which surprises Courtney and Gwen, and specifically when Duncan leaves. They kind of camera, because it's a reality show. It kind of cuts to Gwen being sad before Cody helps her up. And then we don't see Duncan until I See London, episode 13, when he comes. Go for a scavenger hunt.
Hi,
in the Tower of
Edgar
London.
here. I forgot
Pick
to
up clues along
mention
the
that
way,
during episode 10,
which will help
during
them
Sea Shanty,
which will
Courtney
help
and
them
Gwen.
go to find the Ripper. However, Noah and Owen, they bond throughout this entire episode, and they actually find the Ripper. However, though, since Chris was looking for Duncan, Courtney and Gwen actually were also bonding throughout this episode, and then they end up fighting Duncan in this punk club. When Dave had to go to Whitechapel because Gwen wrote a speech on the Ripper, and that's where she believed where he would be. But most of Whitechapel was closed, and the only thing that was open was the punk club. So they end up finding Duncan on stage with his band, Der Schnitzel Kickers. That's the name of the band, and they end up taking him. This causes Team Amazon to win, though, even though no one and Owen, who were on Team Chris, is really, 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 really hot. They actually found the Ripper, and they actually did the challenge correctly. But because Chris was looking for Duncan, they ended up winning because he was looking for Duncan, since he left. After this, Duncan and Courtney have this relationship. Well, not this relationship. They kind of have this talk where Courtney was disappointed about how he left her like that. But after that, she ends up hugging him, saying that she missed him. Which, however, though, Duncan was looking at Gwen during this whole interaction. He was looking at Gwen, and he said, "Every time I ran from the cops, I thought of you." Courtney thinks he was talking about her, but really he was talking about Gwen. After that, we get to the elimination ceremony where Noah is eliminated, and he warns them to not trust Alejandro. After this, though, this is where people blame Gwen for this, but I have a lot of thoughts on it. So after that, Gwen, in the confessional, she talks about how she doesn't know how anyone can sleep tonight, especially Courtney, because she feels all fuzzy, just like she drank like a bunch of coffee, and the fact that Duncan is back and that he missed them. Duncan opens the door because the lock was broken, and he asks Gwen what happened to her hand because in this same episode we realized that when the plane crashed in Jamaica, Cody was being a creep and was taking pictures of her when she was sunbathing, and he accidentally moved the umbrella over and one hand got sunburned. So he asks what happened to her hand, and Gwen says that she doesn't know. This causes, and then she says that Duncan is there to mock her about it. He says yes, but he actually holds the same injured hand, and then they kiss. And Tyler sees this. And then that segues into the next episode, Reese's Pieces, where it starts off where Courtney is just kind of being blissful about Duncan, asking Gwen if he looked good, and Gwen says yes to this and that she's so happy. Before turning off saying, "For you, happy for you." Then we get a confessional from Gwen saying that the moment she becomes friend-ish with Courtney, she kisses her boyfriend, Duncan, and that she feels terrible about it, that she's a horrible person, and that if it happens again, she'll tell her, even though she says that she really does, but she really wants this to happen again before she's saying that she's a horrible person. Then we get another confessional from Courtney where she says that it's nice having a girl to talk to, and that all this stuff about Duncan before she's saying that Gwen also likes having teeth a lot because she's smiling a lot. Then we go through more scenes again where during the challenge exploration or where they were going to Greece that episode. Duncan and Gwen stare at each other, and Courtney notices this, and then she asks Gwen what's going on. Gwen says that nothing's going on, and then she trails off and says that Duncan needs to fix his mohawk. Courtney says that she actually brought up the list thing again, not the list, the letter again in this episode, and then she says that that was actually one of the things that Duncan needs to change about himself, but the mohawk was actually growing on her now. And then we get a few more scenes of this throughout the challenge, and then we get to the absolute banger that is Fight for the Gold, where Duncan and Gwen sing about that whole situation where Tyler saw them kiss, and that now they're kind of afraid to tell Courtney about it. Alejandro overhears this.
That's suspicious. That's weird.
And then when the song is over, he says that it was an interesting song and that someone's been very naughty. And now we go through another challenge where we get to the tiebreaker. Duncan was gone basically because he was kind of caught by the bear, and he was always doing like this singing thing throughout this episode because he missed so many songs and then he breached his contract. Chris had him sing every single minute. So if you have to say something, Duncan basically had to sing it, so. But when Gwen gets worried, when Gwen and Courtney get worried about where Duncan was, Courtney actually asked Gwen why she was worried, and then Gwen was kind of confused about this, and then Courtney says that Courtney asked Gwen if she got it or if she felt the same way, which was kind of a red flag. But because of this, we kind of segued to the tiebreaker, and because it was going to be a close game, because both team Chris is really really hot, and Team Amazon, they both had 2 medals each from the games that they were doing. Alejandro tells Tyler to pay back that favor and tells him to tell Courtney what he knows about Duncan and Gwen, and he tells them now. And this causes Tyler to say that Duncan and Gwen kissed in the confessional and that he saw, and Courtney is furious. She's livid because Gwen basically went behind her back and kissed her boyfriend. However, I'm going to pause this story right here. Why do people either blame Gwen or Courtney for this? I kind of blame Courtney, but why aren't people blaming Duncan? He started this. He did not have the guts to say, I don't like you anymore, I want to break up for good this time. He did not have the guts to say it. He just went ahead and kissed Courtney's best friend at this point in the competition. At that point in the competition, he decides to just throw away everything and says saying, hey, I don't think this is working anymore. I think we should break up so that we can grow from this. He did not have the balls to say that. He instead went out of his way to kiss her best friend, and then basically threatened Tyler to not tell anyone, and then which Tyler ended up doing because of Alejandro. He did. Why do people should also blame Duncan. They either blame Courtney or they either blame Gwen. Blame Duncan.
And that's on a period.
Is this a sexism thing? I'm genuinely asking. But Courtney is livid, and then she says, how could you? I thought we were friendish. I hate you, while Sierra restrains her. This is during the tiebreaker, though, and then, Sierra tells Cody to fly because she has a thing for Cody. That's all bullshit. Wait until I'm gonna make a video on Sierra eventually, because there's a lot to say. Some people like her. I kind of fall into neutral territory regarding her. Why are we defending her? Why? Sierra tells Cody to fly. Courtney tells him to stay where he is and then Sierra was like, but we'll lose until she notices Gwen, and then she also says the same thing. Courtney then says, you are so eliminated, where the entire team except Cody agrees with her. I think Heather doesn't like Gwen, so I guess that's why. But she also doesn't like Courtney. I get why Sierra doesn't like her though, because Cody likes Gwen, but she likes Cody even though she's a stalker. But basically, this causes Courtney to in a rage where she wants to lose a challenge on purpose to get Gwen kicked out. See, this is where Courtney officially lost me. I get that you were cheated on. I get that you were cheated on. But that doesn't mean you actively try to lose to get Gwen kicked out. There's a thing called taking accountability. You're the one who made the list, and that's the reason why Duncan cheated. Because he did not want to be changed by you. I get that. I think that's why you went for Gwen in the first place. But you still should have broken up with her. I'm serious. I feel like if I would take a side, I'd most likely take Gwen's side, but I would also say, hey, what you do was genuinely messed up. You kiss your best friend's boyfriend. That's messed up. That's really messed up. But I would take Gwen's side on this mostly. I would say that you should take accountability, you should go apologize, but I would also say that if there was something going on beforehand, then go for it, but you should still tell Courtney. Because I don't like Courtney, I don't like what. This is one of the subplots where I just genuinely do not care. I do not care. But Team Amazon ends up winning. No one gets kicked off because Chris ends up kicking off an intern because he ignored the vote because Duncan was going to be sent home that episode. Then in the next episode, the X Files, Courtney is wallowing in her breakup basically, and she actually ended things with Duncan completely in this episode. She actually wrote this to-do list, which is honestly kind of funny. Emily Claire Barlow's whole performance as Courtney is top tier. Shout out to her because she can sing and she can act. That's let's go. She and Bridget were generally the best singers and in World Tour. Like they were the best singers. But here's the thing though. She actually writes this list where she wants to pummel Gwen, pummel Duncan, and then the third thing was wash her socks before crying. Then she goes to the confessional and say that she can't believe she's ever trusted Gwen, and she also says that she at least broke up with Duncan on her terms, and that was really empowering. Then we cut back to Courtney throwing a tantrum and a bowl of spaghetti on Duncan's head, and everyone's just watching everyone's reactions are just priceless. They're just watching they look sad for Duncan, but they're just watching. They're just watching it like this. It's so funny, but it's also kind of sad. But it's funny. It's kind of funny. And then she proceeds, and when Duncan says, "Look, I'm sorry," she actually kicks him in the crotch, and that's where that flashback kind of ends. Courtney says that at least she has her pride before she bursts into tears. Now, in this episode, Courtney is still actively trying to lose so that Gwen can leave. Heather notices this and she asks Courtney if she's trying to lose, and Courtney says, as if, and then she walks away. She's actively trying to lose. How do you defend her? She was, after her getting cheated on, which I understand can make someone really angry and really sad, but that doesn't change the fact that she's still trying to actively make her team lose. That's insane to me. You can defend that, but yet when Lashana lies about her friends and just say oh, and everyone's turning against her, you don't defend Lashana for that. So Lashana deserves every word that she said, and that I call me biased because Lashana is my favorite character, but still, what she said about everyone was accurate, and what Beth did was borderline messy. But yet you can defend Courtney actively trying to make her team lose just because she was cheated on and just because she was dumped. I swear. And then in this same episode, Duncan and Gwen, they get together. See, if I actually like Duncan, if I actually liked Duncan, then maybe I would care, but I simply do not. I don't care. But then in this same episode, when Gwen finds an alien artifact that is functional, Courtney trips her, trying to get the alien artifact to break so they can lose, and so that they can vote out Gwen. They still win because Tyler got injured and they lost their alien. The team, of course, lost their alien. That's why they lost. Tyler is eliminated in this episode, and at the end, Gwen overhears this elimination. But when Tyler is eliminated, Courtney walks in and she asks what they were thinking when they were voting out Tyler after he's eliminated. And then she says that there's no more Mrs. Nice Girl and that people are gonna play two people, in fact, Duncan and Gwen, and that she will have her revenge. And then, well, Alejandro hypnotized Owen into pulling his underwear over his head, doing the running man singing, "Take me out to the ball game." It's funny, but I just don't like Owen and I just don't care to laugh. But, and that's where this episode basically ends in terms of the love triangle. And in the next episode, Courtney is ready to fully push out Gwen at 30 past feet in the air. Sierra is going to vote with her, but will take 3 votes for them to actually vote off Gwen. Cody likes Gwen, of course. They're friends, of course. And he doesn't vote her out. He actually votes Sierra in that episode. Spoiler alert. He actually votes Sierra at the end of this episode because Duncan threw him off a cliff with this kangaroo attached to him as a bungee during the bungee jump challenge. He actually gets tangled in it. That's why he ends up flopping. But Sierra is going to vote with Courtney, but it will take 3 votes for them to actually vote off Gwen. And since Cody's a no-go, that leaves Heather. Because Heather wants to win, I think she ends up voting Courtney in the end. But Heather promises with both Courtney and Gwen to try to get the other out because Gwen wants Courtney out because I don't know, because they're voting and they're just not friends right now. So they end up switching places, but Cody actually wants Sierra eliminated for harassing him throughout this entire season. Which honestly, I feel like Sierra should have been kicked here. I know she doesn't because she actually gets kicked out in Drumheller, but she really should have been kicked out here. I'm sorry. And then I fall into neutral territory towards Sierra, but she should be placed on the villains team, low-key, in All Stars, because she was basically going around doing a lot of things, Cody. But Gwen says that Sierra can go after they get rid of Courtney, and then this kind of goes into a back and forth where Alejandro's flirting with Courtney because Duncan said, "Oh, if you flirt with Courtney, since Heather said to you, if you flirt with Courtney, then that will weaken them both." Because Team Amazon is in a war zone right now. So Alejandro's basically flirting with Courtney. Cody is bullying Duncan because he actually punched him in the face in Reese's Pieces. So that whole thing was going on, and during the challenge, Gwen says, but she thinks that because Alejandro is flirting with Courtney now, that he's still not over her. She says to Cody that Duncan can be a real jerk sometimes, and then Cody says, and Cody actually kind of goes along with it, and then when Gwen says, "Can you make the pain go away?" He said that, okay, I'm paraphrasing, but he essentially says, "Okay, I'll vote out Courtney for you. I'll help you vote out Courtney." And then basically this goes into a back and forth where Gwen's like, "Oh, we have her keep out Courtney," and then Courtney's like, "Oh, keep out Gwen." And I'm pretty sure Heather ends up voting for Courtney anyways, because there's a tiebreaker at the end. And this is where Gwen gets eliminated, and Courtney is happy by this. Because she won the tiebreaker, Gwen lost the tiebreaker, and Gwen was sent home because of it. And Courtney is happy because of this. And then the whole next episode, Duncan and Cody are kind of mourning Gwen getting eliminated. Sierra's happy though, so is Courtney. And then that's essentially where the love triangle ends, as in episode 20, Courtney is eliminated along with Laylee after she got on the show by accident in the Fur Aftermath episode. So in episode 20, Courtney is eliminated along with Laylee because they don't have enough money for a tiebreaker after they tie. And Duncan gets eliminated in in episode 21, so the episode directly after Courtney. That's basically where the love triangle ends in not chapter 3, in season 3. That's basically where the love triangle ends. And then the love triangle officially ends midway through Total Drama All-Stars, almost midway. So during this season, Duncan and Gwen are still together while Courtney is still hating Gwen for basically ruining her relationship with Duncan. I hate to break it to you all your Courtney stance, but Courtney was basically the Courtney was basically the base of the cheating thing. Because she's the one who wanted Duncan to change everything about himself. She's the one who wrote the list. Duncan's just the one who actually cheated on her. Courtney kind of started this. I'm sorry, but Duncan should also be... Everyone in this, they should be blamed at least once. Mainly Duncan, because he is the one who cheated. Gwen could have done something to stop it. On my second channel, though, when I get the first 2 videos out, which honestly, you guys should go guess who the character I'm talking about in my last video where I announced it, I will do a video on what if the love triangle essentially didn't happen. But basically, at the beginning of season 5, where everyone is split onto heroes versus villains, Courtney is placed on the heroes team, which I had no idea. She should have been placed on the villains team immediately. Because it's so should have Sierra, to be honest. But honestly, Courtney was really mean to everyone in action. She was mean to everyone. And she basically replaced Justin as a villain. She basically replaced Justin. She should have been on the villains team for sure. At the beginning, but she's originally placed on the heroes team while Gwen and Duncan are placed on the villains team. Gwen's confused by this because she finds that everyone liked her, and she asks why she was on the villains team, but Courtney says that it's because she stole her boyfriend and that she basically became the new heifer.
What was the reason?
I had a reason.
What was the reason?
I had a reason.
What was the reason?
I just explained the reason.
What was the reason, bitch?
I don't need to explain myself to you. And
What was the reason?
Did Duncan tell her that off screen or something? Because they were clearly together. Maybe I kind of think they weren't really together in that sense, but they were still technically boyfriend and girlfriend. But Gwen says that Duncan was not Courtney's boyfriend at the time, so it made me think that that Duncan must have told Gwen, hey, me and Courtney were basically not together. I was thinking of breaking up with her. Maybe that's why a lot of things went over the head of people. So, during the elimination where Lindsay is eliminated in this season, first, by the way, Gwen actually gives Courtney some flowers. She actually puts flowers for her so that they can make up. However, Courtney is allergic to these flowers, and then she says, I told you were a villain, and then she sneezes. Gwen leaves after this, and then in the next episode, she accidentally triggers like this bucket full of trash on her, and she uses a shovel to to dodge it, and that accidentally lands on Courtney's head. Gwen says it was an accident, but Chris says that it was so evil that she was definitely on the right team. I feel bad for Gwen. She did a lot of questionable things, but besides the fact that she was nice, that she actually left a lot of friends in a competition, she's placed on the heroes team. Sorry. I'm gonna switch Gwen and Courtney in a heartbeat. Because Gwen is out here trying to apologize. I'm pretty sure there was more. But, and then in episode 3, Duncan actually kind of saves Gwen from getting hit by leeches in the leech ball challenge. And he switched onto the heroes team, but I don't know if Courtney fans were mad about this, but she deserved it. Courtney uses Sam, a contestant from Revenge of the Island, who was placed on the heroes team. She uses as a human shield to block herself from getting hit by leeches. So at the end of this episode, Duncan and Courtney are switched onto the different teams. Courtney on the villains team and Duncan on the heroes team. Duncan gets a warm welcome in the next episode from the heroes team. And then Courtney does not get a warm welcome from the villains team. But during this, since Gwen and Courtney are on the same team, she tries to make up with her. But I'm pretty sure in the next episode, Moon Madness, where, well, technically Mal comes out in like episode. I don't remember anything about All Stars, but Gwen here in the confessional, Gwen cries saying that she only came back to Total Drama to be concerned with Courtney, but now Courtney hates her more than ever, and then she cries. Courtney overhears this, and this is where I think it should have ended. Where that whole beef should have ended. And then in the confessional, Courtney questions. Courtney is surprised that Gwen actually came back for her and not the $1 million, and that she kind of like, yeah, right, but then she kind of like, wait, maybe. And then throughout this episode, Courtney and Scott from Revenge of the Island, the main antagonists from Revenge of the Island, they begin to bond. Well, I think it was that episode. But throughout this, Gwen and Courtney start to make up, and this all comes to a head. Well, technically, and here's where the pin. Here's where the thing. Duncan shows signs of not missing Courtney, and he actually wants to be affectionate with Gwen, so Courtney will see this and get jealous. He actually asks Gwen now that Courtney's on the villains team if they talked about him. Gwen is angry by this and says that Courtney hasn't said a word about him before walking away from him, and then that leads to the challenge. But no, I think that was during the challenge. I'm sorry, my nose is stuffy. But at the end of this episode, where the love triangle officially ends, Duncan and Gwen break up. However, though, Duncan is confused by this, and he says that in a confessional that they did not break up. But however, Gwen said that she never thought it would end like that. She never thought that their relationship would end like that. As during the confessional kiss in London, she saw fireworks, but when Duncan kissed her on the cheek, it felt like she was kissing a shoe, and that the thrill was gone. And then in episode 7, Courtney and Gwen make up and then become friends. See, I would actually like this if I actually cared about Courtney, which I don't. I'm sorry, I don't. And then Gwen and Courtney are friends for a while and then Scott and Courtney start to date. And basically, when Chris gets kidnapped by Mutant Ezekiel, and this is when the whole Mal thing was going on, I have no words. But basically, she actually ditches Gwen for Scott because they got together that same episode and they go and do the challenge on their own. But during this, however, Courtney gets kissed by Cameron, another Revenge of the Island contestant, who is preceded by Mal/Mike. Mike is a Revenge of the Island contestant, but he was basically placed in his mind by his evil personality, Mal. The whole situation, I'll do a video on the characters eventually, but however though, Gwen finds out about this in episode 10, and she says that they'll have a little chat, and then all this culminates to the end of basically everything. Sunday Money Sunday, which people hate and say it's the worst episode of All Stars. I'm gonna say it right here, and I know it's a hot take. Courtney deserved it. She had a long time coming. In this episode, though, after Gwen is sent to Boney Island, Courtney makes a chart on all the contestants. On all the contestants who are remaining. So it was her, Gwen, Scott, Zoe, and Mike/Mal. So Courtney made this chart about how she wants the eliminations to go. So she was gonna get Zoe out in that episode. Gwen second last. She didn't know where Mike/Mal was gonna go, and that she was gonna take Scott to the finale because Scott would just let her win. And when Mal rats out Courtney, everyone turns against her, including Gwen, and they just became friends at this point, and they were just friends, and that they actually said that they wanted to go to the finale together. This idea was basically done for, as Gwen and Courtney just are not friends anymore, and this is the same episode where Courtney gets eliminated.
Don't laugh. You can't laugh.
For the last time in the show. That's basically where the love triangle ends, but I have to add in those little memos to where everything just ends. And we don't see Courtney after this. Because in the finale episode, she actually is in a balloon and she actually floats up for all other Revenge of the Island, where the other All-Stars contestants. Don't worry though, because it was confirmed that the balloons ended up popping and they ended up falling safely to the water. So they all survived. Yeah. But that's basically where the Duncan Courtney love triangle ends. It ends properly in episode 5, but I want to have those little memos where just everyone don't like each other anymore. I don't know what they're doing after the show, so maybe I'll do a video where all the contestants end up after the show. But now it's time for my final thoughts on this. The love triangle is one of the things where I just simply do not care for anyone in the slightest. I love Gwen. I will defend her forever, but she was borderline messy in this, and everyone was messy on this. But if I would go back and change this, if I would actually write this while I did, technically, I would just opt for the love triangle not existing, and I'm actually going to mention this now. In chapter 9, I actually did not have Duncan quit. Well, he did quit. I decided Chris bring it back, and I actually wrote on his ending in that action. And Chris said at the end of chapter 2, episode 2 in this, that if Duncan quits, his money will be taken away and it will be given to Beth because she was the runner-up. And he says that if you quit, your money will be taken away. So Duncan ends up staying, and then in chapter 9, he actually tries to kiss Gwen. Because Gwen doesn't like Courtney in this, she refuses. She refuses this. And Courtney actually sees Duncan about to kiss her, but she assumes Gwen was going to kiss him. And they actually have a fight at the end of chapter 9. And they are not on good terms right now, and I doubt they will ever be on good terms. So I'll probably do an All-Stars rewrite following the events at this one. But that's basically where we all stand. That's basically where I stand on this, and that's basically the change I made where the love triangle simply did not happen. So basically, the love triangle did not happen in my story, and if I was in charge, I would basically opt for the love triangle to never happen. But also, if you're wondering, Duncan and Courtney did break up beforehand before I wrote that. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. I want to give a quick update on the Queen of Weddings video. So first off, I want you all to comment down below in my last video, who do you think I'm going to be focusing on this? If someone comments and if someone gets it correct, I will heart their comment and I will shout them out at the beginning of the video. Where I will announce who is the character that I will be focusing on the Equestria Girls Wedding. So stay tuned for that video, and actually stay tuned for a whole bunch of videos following each contestant of Total Drama and my thoughts on them and what their characters are, at least to me. So this is a long video, but again, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And then comment down below how you feel about this love triangle. And with that in mind, I will see you all in the next video. Bye!